So I'm a little bit ashamed to admit that I've never really given the Buick Encore GX a second look. And that was completely unfair of me because, Dad, this has turned out to be one of the biggest surprises of the year. This little Buick is an excellent little car.
I only have one question, Tommy. Is it cheap and cheerful?
Well, I think it's pretty cheerful, but is it cheap? We're going to find out in a minute. So let's talk about the little Encore GX. Now, this Buick shares its platform with the Chevrolet Trailblazer, and they are both manufactured where, Dad?
Korea.
That's right, South Korea. Now, I think there's a little bit of a stigma surrounding Korean cars still, and surrounding cars manufactured in Korea, and I think that is completely unfair because the build quality on this Encore GX appears to be phenomenal. The fit and finish better than most domestic made Buicks I've seen.
Wait, where's the engine? I see something that could be an engine, but where is it? I see, oh, turbo, there it is.
Yeah, you really have to use some binoculars to find it because what this little engine cover will indicate, just 3 teeny tiny cylinders.
Yeah.
So, 1.3 liters, 155 horsepower, 174 pound-feet of torque. Not exactly a powerhouse here.
Yeah, you know when the battery is about the size of the powertrain that you're in for an interesting performance dynamic, Tommy.
But here's the thing about this car, especially at altitude, it scoots along a lot better than you expect because of that teeny tiny turbocharger. And, you know, this is not a vehicle designed to carve up canyons or take to your local drag strip. It is perfectly adequate and a lot smoother than you'd expect a 3-cylinder to be.
Let me close this and show you kind of the design of the front end. Now, I do like the overall design, the big kind of I only have one criticism, and that is there's just a little bit too much chrome for my liking.
Yeah, I mean, they really went very 1960s with the chrome package on this car.
Yeah, and it makes what is basically sort of kind of an entry-level car look more upmarket, but I don't think the two necessarily work together. I think you want to keep this not, you know, my generation, but your generation.
Well, I mean, that's always been the problem with Buick, is they have a little bit of a stigma of being a old person's car. And the chrome does not help the stigma, even though the rest of the car is actually very good. Look, the overall design, what I appreciate that is even though it's based on the Trailblazer, it's not just a case of slap a new badge on it and call it a day. Like the whole overall look, the front end, the side profile, the headlight treatment looks very different than the Chevrolet.
Yeah, I agree that they certainly, you know, there's badge engineering, and this car does not look like it's sharing a platform with other GM vehicles.
So this is the Avenir trim, which is the top spec. The base model is called the Preferred, even though no one prefers that. I don't love this Avenir badging. That also looks very 1960s. The wheels are great. We're looking at a 19-inch wheel wrapped in 245 all-season tires. You can get the little Encore GX in either front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. Here is a top tip. Definitely get the all-wheel drive one, even if you don't need the traction capability. It comes with a 9-speed automatic versus the CVT in the base front-wheel drive version.
You want to jump inside? And Cole, why don't you come around here and I'll jump in the back and Tommy will jump in the front. There are two things I really like on the interior, Tommy. First, I love this white trim. It does liven up what otherwise would be a very kind of gray and dour interior. And can you guess the other thing I like in here?
What's that?
I like that little knob for the volume in the screen.
Yeah, it's got a little volume knob, and it does have one party trick. Hang on, Cole, before you hop in. Check this out. If I pull a lever, the front seat folds completely flat. So if you're carrying longer items, it's easy to do so, or you can go into full valet mode.
Hold on here, yeah. This might be the ultimate car for the Uber driver who wants to be really, you know, secretly a black car, but doesn't have quite the size or the price point for black. Because this is very comfortable. I can see coming back from the airport. I'm not sure it's safe, Tommy. You know, my feet probably are going to get hit by an airbag if you know, the worst were to happen. But you know, it's let's talk about the back here. I'll put the seat back up.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah. So the purpose of this is not for chauffeur mode. It's to haul long items. How's the rear seat?
Headroom is, you know, tight. Knee room is really tight. Now I know this seat is all the way back. Can you scoot it forward just a little bit?
Yeah, it does have power slide even on the passenger side. Yeah.
Yeah, it's made you know, for certainly smaller people, I would say.
Well, look, what you have to realize is, we'll take a look at the trunk here. This is a vehicle in that really small SUV class. I mean, we're talking Nissan kick size, Subaru Crosstrek size. It's smaller than like a Cadillac XT4. So this is a really little guy. And considering it actually has some really nice features, like a power lift gate. I think we're looking at 24 cubic feet worth of space. Look at that little donut underneath there. And I think you might even have a little subwoofer underneath the donut. So it's a pretty good use of space back here. And then we'll show the seat folding mechanism, 60-40 split. Fold that down, and you do notice they do fold flat, which is quite nice.
Yeah, it's nice, and the material feels, expensive.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's real leather, but it certainly does a good job of imitating it.
Yeah, you got your little, like, this is kind of chintzy, right? This is some cost cutting. So that's a good example of maybe where there's some money being left out. But, like, look, it does have a power liftgate, which is kind of unusual in this class. And the rear end, pretty stylish. I really do like the kind of smoke taillight look. You don't have the reds and the yellows that you typically would have in a lot of vehicles in this class. Encore GX badging, Buick spelled out proudly. And then out back, they really do hide the exhaust pipe, so they don't want you knowing that this is a gas car. But let's do this, Ted. Let's hop in the little Encore and let's take it for a spin.
All right. Why don't I get in the back seat? Cole, you jump in the front seat with Tommy, and you can show them what the infotainment looks like, because it is a really big screen.
Yeah, so a couple of things worth noting in here. Leather wrap steering wheel with white contrasting stitching. We do have an 11-inch touchscreen display here to my right. The colors are a little dark and a little bland, but really easy to use. Wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, so this vehicle does still have that, even though a lot of GM vehicles are going away from that. We got our music screens here, navigation, all that incorporated. And then on this side of this curved panel, even though there is quite a bit of a gap, we've got an 8-inch display here as well for tack, speed, all the importance vitals. Dual zone automatic climate control. We got heated seats over here. And then check this out, USB-A and USB-C ports, decent wireless charger, works very well. And then some other features here, we've got lane centering, as well as a button to engage all-wheel drive, which is definitely a little bit unusual. You can cycle between front-wheel drive and all-wheel drive in this car.
At this point, I should point out that a lot of that stuff is additional to the MSRP, Tommy.
Sure.
We have the Avenir technology package, which gives you the adaptive cruise control, wireless charging, rear camera, mirror washer, interesting, and that's $13.95. And then we also have the Avenir convenience package, which gives you the Bose premium sound systems, hands-free power liftgate, rain sensing front wipers, and rear park assist. So it doesn't come standard. Just want to be sure people knew that.
What is the total price on this?
Oh God, it's too much. You know, I asked that question. It's certainly cheerful, but it's not cheap, dude. It's $37,085, which is, a lot for a car that is, based on an economy car.
Well, I mean, the question you have to ask yourself, though, is Buick playing in the premium segment, or are they playing with the Nissan?
Before you run on a runway, you want to floor it? Stop?
Sure.
Come to a stop and floor?
Sure, yeah. There's not a lot to
show, to floor?
So a little bit of turbo lag, then right around 2,500 RPM, you get a nice little push, and then it shifts just over 5. It's a very low revving kind of engine. It does its thing. It's actually very smooth for a 3-cylinder, and it's kind of uninspired and just moves the car along. But it's fine, especially with this 9-speed torque converter.
Well, here's the thing, though. It's got a fuel economy combined rating of 27 mpg, and I think that's because you got to get into that turbo to really move this thing down the road.
Pretty terrible fuel economy for a 1.3, but that is because, like you said, it's a 3,300 pound car, 3,400 pound car, and you've got just a little engine that's trying to move it all around. No, but look, so compared to like a Mercedes GLA, this thing's a bargain.
Sure.
Compared to a Subaru Crosstrek.
No one's cross-shopping this with a GLA, Tommy.
Well, Buick would like you to.
They would like you to.
Especially with the Avenir version. Yeah, it's not quick. No one's going to call this quick.
I mean, I think they're more likely to cross-shop this against its own cousin, right?
The Trailblazer?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I mean, I do like the Trailblazer a lot. This feels a little bit more upmarket than the Trailblazer. I agree with you. I don't think it's an Audi or BMW competitor, but it's I do like the way it drives. It's a little jittery. Like, it's just got kind of a basic rear suspension setup. I think it's like a twist beam back there. There's not a lot of heck in terms of suspension. McPherson struts in the front, but it's fairly well isolated. It would ride better with smaller wheels. These 19s do firm up the ride a little bit, But yeah, the tech is good. It's fairly well made. I mean, like, certainly there is some cost cutting up on the door panels, but the actual touch points all feel really good. Steering wheel feels great. So it's a car that I think a lot of folks have just sequestered to rental fleets.
So in America for a long time, especially for my generation, right? Compact cars, economy cars were always synonymous with economy, right? Being inexpensive, being cheap.
Sure.
And it wasn't until the Europeans started to bring in, like you said, like the GLA, the small BMWs, that you end up getting, small premium cars.
Right.
And that's where, Buick is at with this. It's a small premium car. And I think, like I said, not for your generation, but certainly for my generation, it's hard to put those two things together, even though they do belong together, obviously.
Well, it's about $4,000 more than the Chevy,
Yeah.
which I think for the most part is worth it. I wouldn't get this top trim. The middle one, I think, is Sport Touring. That's the one to go for, the ST version. And yeah, save a few $1,000s. But yeah, I mean, it's a good little car to drive around, and it feels like it's not trying to be anything it's not, which I appreciate.
Yeah, so I see this demographic, in other words, the customer for this car, being possibly empty nesters. Mm-hmm. Now you're talking to my generation, so you want something now that the kids are gone and you don't need as much room. I think that would be somewhere where this would be very happy. But let me ask you, you're in your mid-20s. Is this something you would consider as kind of a small, compact luxury car if you didn't want to go and spend, GLA money or 1 Series BMW money?
Yeah, I mean, I do actually quite like it a lot. I think I prefer the adventure-y more feel of the Trailblazer, but I think you get a pretty decent car for the money. I mean, we're looking fully loaded under 40 grand, which is a ton of money, but by 2024 standards, it's not that much money. So a pretty decent little ride. I actually quite like it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I always feel like every car nowadays that we review is $10,000 too much.
Well, yeah.
And, that is certainly something that applies to this, but this is the top of the line, top shelf, top dog. And so I can see this getting discounted to something that's a little bit more reasonable when it eventually does become more mainstream at the dealerships. Anyway, thank you guys for joining us. As always, this has been Roman.
And Tommy, we'll see you next time. Head over to alltfl.com if you want to find more new car reviews.
Ciao.